You know what? That's pretty funny, isn't it? Welcome to First Take, everyone. I know you're excited. Skip Bayless, courage of your convictions. You knew what was right. You knew that the Dallas Cowboys would win.
Well, I did, but somebody else did not.
They did not. Who might that be? Wait, Stephen A. Smith is in New York, of course. You know what? He's running from you. Stephen A., how are you? Hey.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me say, to start the show, I'm going to give you one small break today because you were already scheduled to be in New York today. So you don't have to wear this jersey just yet. Tomorrow, you will be right here in Bristol, unless you run from me like Floyd's running from Manny. But I don't think you will. I think you'll be here tomorrow. On your birthday, you have to wear this jersey, Tony Romo's jersey, the whole show, 10 to 12 Eastern. You, Stephen A. Smith, in Cowboys metallic blue number 9, Tony Romo, who made the play of the NFL year yesterday to win the game in Seattle. How you like them apples?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, man.
Tomorrow, here.
I'll be there.
High,
I'll be there.
10 o'clock noon.
Happy early birthday. So, Stephen A., the last thing you tweeted before Tony Romo actually won the game for the Cowboys was damn. Why was that? Give us your take on what happened.
You know, the interesting part is that the Dallas Cowboys clearly were the better team yesterday. They looked better. They looked tougher. They clearly looked bigger and stronger. They outmuscled the Seattle Seahawks, and it was quite shocking, the vision, to be quite honest with you. Skip Bayless had been raving about the Dallas Cowboys offensive line since the preseason, since training camp, to be quite honest with you. And knowing that they had an improved offensive line, you knew that their offense was going to be a juggernaut. The thing is that you said, what is their defense going to be able to do? And then even over the course of the 4-game winning streak after they lost the season opener to the San Francisco 49ers, you just looked at the Dallas Cowboys and you said, oh, please, it's still a fluke, because despite winning those 4 straight games, you saw that their offensive line was they were every bit as legit as advertised. And then on top of it all, you saw DeMarco Murray running the football effectively. And then as a result of that, you found yourself saying it's fool's gold, because this defense still hasn't been exposed yet, simply because they've been running the football, moving the chains. They were the second leading team in terms of rushing attempts. Number 1, in terms of rushing attempts in the NFL. Number 2, in terms of overall rushing yards, led by DeMarco Murray. And you just said to yourself, they're keeping the defense off the field, so we really don't know yet. Yet yesterday, despite the fact that they were moving the ball effectively, and again, 162 yards rushing and what have you, when their defense was on the field, they had Russell Wilson rattled. They were attacking the football. They were attacking the Seattle Seahawks. They maintained discipline in terms of their zone coverage. When they went man-to-man, they went in their face. They were physical. I looked at the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't even recognize them. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They clearly looked like the better team. They played like the better team. And as a result, I sit here today with very little to say other than to acknowledge that I was wrong, that the Dallas Cowboys, as far as I'm concerned, based on what I saw yesterday, they're a legit contender in the NFC. There is no question about it. One could argue that right now they're the best team in the NFC. I almost faint when I think about saying that out of my mouth, but it is the truth. I'm not a liar. I'm not somebody that ducks from the mea culpas that I have to spew from time to time. It is rare, but this is one of those moments. The next 2 days are going to be a nightmare for me. I do not want to be here today. I certainly don't want to look at him, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys, they've proven me wrong. And
So,
that's not
even though you do not sit here wearing a Tony Romo jersey just yet, and I do sit here supporting my Dallas Cowboys with Dallas colors on today, One question to you, sir, for the record, for posterity. Do you now believe in my Cowboys?
I believe in them, but that's a loaded question. You need to get more specific. Because I still picked the Philadelphia Eagles to win the NFC East.
You did.
And I am not backing off from
that.
that.
Okay, so you're sticking with that.
I'm sticking with that.
Okay. You know how much I do love you, and I do still love you. I don't always like you, but I do love you. And the days I don't like you are the many, 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 many days I've had to sit in this seat on Mondays after Cowboy debacles and sit and hear you say, with your stage exaggerated laughter, my Cowboys are an accident waiting to happen. That my Cowboys are a walking piece of mediocrity. I've had relentless ridicule from you for year after year after Monday after NFL Monday. Am I going to hear that anymore this season, Mr. Smith?
Uh-oh.
That remains to be seen.
Oh, so you're hanging on to that one, huh?
That remains to be seen. I mean, the season is still long. There's still about 11 games, 10 games to go.
Okay, but you did call my Cowboys an NFC contender, not NFC East contender, an NFC contender. Thank you very much. Now, back to business. You laughed and laughed about my Cowboys' chances of winning in Seattle yesterday. And did they ever prove you wrong? Because your prediction was an accident waiting to happen, as they have been. Dallas against New Orleans this year, and Dallas will continue to make you laugh at them before games and me laugh last, game after game from here on. I told you before the year started they are going to win the NFC East. And what happened yesterday was they went to Seattle and they bullied the bully. They didn't just beat Seattle. They beat Seattle at its own home game. They beat up Seattle. They played more physically. They out-hit Seattle. DeMarco Murray went beast mode on the team with beast mode. And Dallas's defense held beast mode to a low roar, can we say, 10 carries on 61 yards, and took Percy Harvin completely out of the game. And the Tony Romo that you have laughed and laughed at, who you said, if the ball is in his hands too much, will be the reason the Cowboys lose and lose badly yesterday, had 0 interceptions and pulled off the play of the NFL year, as I alluded to, on 3rd and 20. What an incredible escape. What an incredible throw. And what an incredible catch by Terrence Williams, tiptoeing the sideline for 23 yards, which basically saved and put Dallas in position to win that game. And Stephen A., you know what I love the most about what my Dallas Cowboys did yesterday? And remember, I grew up a Cowboy fan, so I'm not jumping on any late-come bandwagons here. My Dallas Cowboys faced down all their old demons in that house of horrors up in Seattle. You realize, blocked punt, touchdown. Fumbled punt, set up, easy touchdown. Romo, fumbled snap on the low snap, crazy snap. Set up an easy field goal. Dallas gave Seattle 17 points and still beat the heck out of them. 30-23, gave them 17 points. And think about this. Dallas's offense scored 30 points with 0 help from Seattle. Seattle committed no turnovers until the game was virtually over, the game-ending interception, which did not help Dallas's offense. So Dallas's offense started at an average starting point of its 21-yard line and went 80 for a touchdown and 80 for a touchdown and 80 for a touchdown and 71 for a field goal. Dallas drove the ball down Seattle's throats. How doubt them, Cowboys, Mr. Smith? How doubt them?
You know, one of the things that we've lamented watching Seattle this year is that they didn't seem to be the same team that they were last year. Losing Bryant, losing Clemens to Jacksonville, losing some beef on that defensive line. I think that the thing that you have to monitor and watch out for is the fact that Dallas's offensive line is massive. I mean, this kid Ronald Leary, I mean, he had a good game as well. He made a couple of mistakes, but he had a good game as well on that offensive line. And obviously, Fredericks made the bad snap, and we understand that. But with them, with Zach Martin and those boys, I mean, Tony Romo had all day to throw the football. They had major holes to run the football in, and they just pounded it down Seattle's throat. Seattle has speed, but Seattle really, really looked small compared to the Cowboys yesterday. I remember even one catch when Jason Witten, caught the ball and Cam Chancellor hit him. It didn't even seem to faze him that much. I mean, Jason Witten looked, he looked massive compared to Cam Chancellor, which is something that it's rare for me to see as well. So, again, I just think it's one of those situations where Seattle appeared to be a smaller team, and Dallas came in there with the mentality that not only are we going to outplay them, we're going to do so by beating them up. And that's what the Dallas Cowboys did yesterday, and my hat's off to them, because if you're going to play the Dallas Cowboys, I think the thing that's clear is that from a defensive position, you've got to have some mass and some girth to go up against these boys. You're not going to beat them with just speed. You have to have mass. You have to have girth. You have to have strength. If you don't have that, you're going to have some problems with the Cowboys because of that offensive line.
Okay, so you're pretty matter-of-fact about what happened yesterday. I'm going to press you again. Are you still clinging to your Eagles pick in the NFC East?
Yes, I am.
Why is that?
Yes, I am.
After all that you just said, you just gave it up to my Cowboys.
Because there's one thing left. There's one thing left. See, the Dallas Cowboys, I'll eat my crow, Skip. I have no choice. The way I get on them, and listen. I've had a marvelous time with my radio show on Mad Dog Radio doing that show. I'm not looking forward to that today. I wanted to call in for today. I want to call in for today off from this show. I want to call into the day off from radio. I want to do the same thing tomorrow. I obviously cannot do that. But here's the deal. The Dallas Cowboys, there's still one element, one increment that they have not overcome. The Dallas Cowboys are accustomed to sitting there and knocking down the naysayers when everybody counts them out. The Dallas Cowboys have not yet proven that they can deal with prosperity. That is the last thing. When you expect them, when you say the Dallas Cowboys will do this on a positive perspective, when everybody is just laying in wait and saying, you know what? We give it up to the Cowboys. They're the favorites now. This is what they're going to do. When you put them in that position, the Dallas Cowboys have usually come up short. That's the last hurdle that they have to climb. But I will acknowledge they've climbed over all those other hurdles. Rod Marinelli is doing a sensational job as defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. Scott Linehan did an exceptional job, masterful yesterday with his play calling. Jason Garrett is doing a good job in terms of keeping these boys ready and just feeling the pulse of the team. We criticize him. I'm the first to do it. He is definitely doing his job this year. Jerry Jones assembled this crew. He deserves a lot of credit. I got to eat my crow. I get it. But there's one other element, one other hurdle they have to overcome. Now that we're sitting here and acknowledging who the Cowboys are, what they have done, now what are you going to do?
Now.
We'll see.
Okay, so I'm going to let you sleep on this, but I'm going to propose another jersey bet to you. And you can tell me tomorrow whether you accept or not. This one, I'm going to hold up my half of the bargain in. I will bet you a jersey, a TV jersey, that Dallas wins the NFC East. If Philly wins, I will wear an Eagles jersey. You name if it's Nick Foles, that's fine with me. You name it. I'll wear an Eagles jersey. If Dallas wins the division, you have to wear yet another Tony Romo jersey for another 2 hours of this show at the end of the regular season. You can sleep on that, and we'll talk about it on your birthday tomorrow.
I don't need to sleep on this, Skip. I'll accept the bet because I believe that the Eagles are going to win the division. Not only that, I kind of like the thought of you having to wear a Riley Cooper jersey.
Okay, I'll do that. That's fine. Even though I detest Riley Cooper, I will wear that. Yeah. If that's what you want me to do, if that's your choice, it's not mine, but I will do that.
Speaking of jerseys, Omar Epps just tweets the show, Stephen A. He says, and as you know, He is a Cowboys fan. Why aren't you wearing your Cowboys jersey? He wants to know.
Because I told them that I would be in studio when I wore it, and I knew I wouldn't be in studio today. Plus tomorrow is my birthday, so because I was so confident I would not have to ruin my birthday by wearing a Cowboys jersey. I actually got bold enough to say that I'll do it on my birthday in studio, and it was maybe the dumbest thing I've ever done.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, we'll remember that. It's history on the show. Stephen A. still going with NFC East, saying the Phillies will win. Another bet has been made. Let's move on to the other side of the ball. Seattle looked exposed because many have not managed their expectations of the Super Bowl champions. They seemed unstoppable. They seemed to have the Legion of Boom, still the best secondary in football. But after Dallas beat them at home, now they seem exposed. Doug Baldwin says, we have to quit BSing ourselves. We've got to be real with ourselves. When we get in the meeting room, we've got to actually pay attention to things and not blow smoke up our tails that everything's going to be all right. Things aren't going right. Pay attention to things that we're not doing right and correct them. We had plenty of time to make plays. We've got too much talent not to be moving the expletive ball. I'm not mad at Russ. It's a collaborative thing. Skip Bayless, how vulnerable are the Seahawks?
Stephen A. Smith, they're extremely vulnerable when the Legion of Boom gets doomed on third down. The two losses are very simply explained for me. San Diego, obviously at San Diego, was 10 out of 17 on third down. Controlled the ball 42 minutes to Seattle's 18 minutes. Yesterday on third down, Tony Romo went Phillip Rivers on the Legion of Boom. 10 out of 17 on third down were the Dallas Cowboys. So Dallas controlled the ball 38 minutes to Russell Wilson's mere 22 minutes. So it's simply a matter of, Kerry just said they're still the best secondary in football. I don't know. They're not playing like the best secondary because they're giving up way too many third down conversions. In the league right now, they're giving up the sixth highest third down conversions. 47.3% of the time, the opponent converts on third down. If that's going to keep happening in their big games against San Francisco, against Arizona, they're going to have a hard time because Russell and company just don't have the ball enough. And Russell wasn't very good when he did have the ball yesterday, and he did look like an undersized quarterback. He's 14 of 28 for 126, but he made that beautiful early throw to Curse for 53 yards. So he was actually 13 of 27 for all of 73 yards if you take that one throw away. Percy Harvin, I've talked about since preseason, is the X factor for this team. You have to get him the ball where he can do some damage. He can't break tackles, but he can sure run around and through people if you get him in the open field. Yesterday, he rushed 3 times for -1, tribute to Rod Marinelli and the defense. He caught 4 passes for all of 3 yards, did Percy Harvin. So the problems are Dallas is converting and San Diego is converting like crazy on third down, like you're a bad defense, and you're not getting Percy Harvin free on offense. The equation for that is you're going to lose a game on the road at San Diego against a good team, and you're going to lose a game at home to Dallas, becoming a good team. Your thoughts?
Totally agree with you. Was incredibly disappointed with Seattle yesterday, obviously so. I'm going to put a lot of this on Russell Wilson as well because we've been raving about him and called him a top 4 candidate for league MVP honors going into this weekend's game. So why can't we sit there and call him on the carpet for his lack of production yesterday? When I saw Doug Baldwin getting in his face and talking to him, when I read those quotes, when I see the absence of production from the electric Percy Harvin, obviously you can look at Pavel, the offensive coordinator, but you can look at Pete Carroll, but I'm also looking at Russell Wilson, who's shown an ability and a propensity to make things happen. Yet people seem to be trying to egg him on to get him going. Last time I checked, that should be what the quarterback should be doing with the guys. It shouldn't be the other way around. So I was incredibly disappointed with his performance. I still believe in him. It's just one game. It's nothing to write off the season about or what have you. But again, when you are undersized as a defense, when your success is predicated on your ability to tackle and the speed, and yet you're being worn down because you can't get them off the field. When you get on the field as an offense, you've got to find a way to do the same. You look at beast mode, Marshawn Lynch. I mean, the fact is, you take away, Skip, his 32-yard run. What did he have? 9 rushes for 29 yards outside of that 132-yard run. You need more from Marshawn Lynch. You need more from Percy Harvin. But the person to facilitate all of that is Russell Westbrook because of his ability to move the chains. Nobody figured out what Dallas was doing to them. They seemed lost throughout the game, but more importantly, they seemed unenthused. And I was shocked to see that. It's almost like Dallas took their heart. I don't want to say that definitively because these are the Legion of Boom and the Seattle Seahawks that we're talking about here. But at the same time, that's how it looked to the mind's eye. In the second half of this game, it almost looked like Seattle didn't want to be there. Seriously. And I was just stunned to witness that. And so when I see something like that, and you're a guy like Russell Wilson with the abilities that you have, and you can't do anything, something's wrong with that picture. Something's wrong because Baldwin can play. You've got Percy Harvin. We know what he could do. You know what Lynch could do. And Russell Wilson is a top 4 league MVP candidate, according to everybody else prior to yesterday's game. Yep. So you whatever you were, you certainly are not that now because you got exposed. Why did you get exposed? That, to me, was what this comes down to.
Bottom line for me, I think the Seahawks were as confident going into this game as you were confident in them winning by a lot in this game.
Maybe so, but what I'm saying is, Skip, if you're confident and then all of a sudden, you might have taken somebody for granted, but the game is 60 minutes. And I'm telling you that as of the second quarter, you knew that this was going to be different. You're up 10-0. Okay, basically the blocked punt, what have you, get in there for a touchdown, you got a field goal, you're up 10-0. And here comes Dallas storming back. They march right down the field. Like you said, an 80-yard drive, an 80-yard drive, an 80-yard drive, a 71-yard drive. I'm saying, you look at what they're doing, clearly they weren't playing. It didn't take you the full game to notice that. And I'm saying to you, over the course of that 60 minutes, I saw guys that looked like they didn't want to be there. They looked literally like they didn't want to be there. And a massive offensive line can do that to you. The Redskins with the Hogs taught us that years ago. The Dallas Cowboys with Emmitt Smith taught us that years ago. When you are a team, San Francisco for the most part, over the last 2-3 years with their offensive line, when you've got a massive offensive line that is willing to punch you in the face and move the chains, it can demoralize a team because it also serves to embolden the defense.
It does.
And I think that's some of the things that we were witnessing yesterday.
When you have the new beast mode, as in DeMarco Murray, he punished that defense and punished those secondary defenders and tacklers, the second-level defenders and tacklers, all day long until that final drive. They were basically finally said, no moss. We just can't tackle him anymore.
What I saw the reason why I say with the offensive line even more so than Murray is because I saw when Dunbar or Randall touched the ball and they looked effective because that offensive line was beating Seattle up.
All right, sharing the blame for the loss. When Richard Sherman has multiple penalties, Seahawks are 1-5.
It's a horrible game on our part. There's no other way around it. You can't sugarcoat it. It is what it is. You give all the credit to that team. They came out hungry, and we didn't, and it showed. It showed on the field. No rhyme or reason for it. In this league, you can't take days off. You can't take them off, and we took today off.
All right, Giant safety Antrell Roll on the loss. Victor Cruz, arguably, not even arguably, was the biggest loss in the game against the Eagles. Cruz tore his patellar tendon in his right knee in the third quarter of the team's game against the Eagles. They took the day off, so he says, but take a look at this. The New York Post with the headline, Black Sunday. Cruz knee out. 4th season as Eagles bury Big Blue. Joining us now, our NFL analyst, Eric Allen. How are you?
Great.
You are.
Yes.
Better than Victor Cruz.
This is for sure.
Wasn't that a weird injury? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It really was.
Because
he went up and you didn't know what happened.
Yeah, you didn't see any, kind of stress really on the knee, and it just really unfortunate. My son's dealing with knee injuries, so I just, it kills you when a guy, so good for his team goes down like that.
And when you saw him sob like that, you knew it was over.
You knew right away. He knows the whole process of not being able to play, help his football team, and then having to go to PT, for a whole year. And it's patella tendon, not the ACL, so that's a big deal. That's the one that holds that kneecap together. So you don't know kind of what's going to happen, and the process of coming back is a little different from the ACL, so we really feel for anyone who gets hurt, but particularly a guy like that who's, so huge in New York.
I know, broke my heart. Okay, so let's talk about the game in itself. Former Eagle, you can give us. Was this really about how good the Eagles were, or just an off day? As Antrell Rolls said, did they just take the day off? Bad Giants.
A couple things, and that stuck out with me. Obviously, 200 yards rushing for the Philadelphia Eagles. LaShawn McCoy getting started. The Giants cannot allow that to happen if they're going to have any chance of beating this Philadelphia Eagles team. And that's been the one aspect of the Eagles that have been keeping them from having a consistent offensive game. We've seen, one quarter splashes, but 200 yards with McCoy getting off. That really was the start of the dominance for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think. And when they're running the ball well, that gives great confidence to the offensive line. And when the offensive line feels comfortable, and then Nick Foles was able to target 9 receivers yesterday. I thought the running game was spectacular. And then defensively, 8 sacks. 8 sacks, which is supposed to be the Giants a quick rhythm offense, get the ball out of your hands, and what he's been doing the last 3 games in those wins, he's been doing a great job. Eli Manning getting the ball out of his hands, but they just dominated up front, and that's what I saw yesterday in the NFC East. I saw the teams that dominated up front dominate football games, and the Eagles, without a doubt, were the dominant football team. It had nothing to do with the Giants taking a day off. It was all about the dominance of the Philadelphia Eagles.
All right, Stephen A.
He's absolutely right. Somewhere along the way, the Eagles' offensive line decided to show up and created some holes for LaShawn McCoy. He came into the game averaging just 2.3 yards a carry with their 2 tight end sets, but he had 2 big runs to start out the game off of that same set. So clearly they were doing a better job of blocking, and I think that definitely helped them. There's no question about that. I should have known that this would have happened to the Giants the second that we realized that Rashad Jennings was not going to be able to play in this game because it was going to neutralize and pretty much take away their running game, but you still didn't anticipate that the Giants would go scoreless against the Philadelphia Eagles. And then, obviously what happened to Victor Cruz, even though they were already in a hole, it still broke my heart to see that happen to him because, you got to remember, Skip, when I was in college, my kneecap cracked in half. It was the patella knee. I mean, it's just anytime I see something like that, it's just devastating. And obviously, playing in the National Football League and going through the level of extensive rehab that he's going to go to, you got to believe that hopefully he'll be able to come back healthy. But it's just a devastating blow to this team psychologically, and I don't think the Giants are going to be able to do anything going forward. But getting back to the Eagles, when their running game is big time, everything else falls into play. When you look at LaShawn McCoy running the football and Darren Sproles being the threat that he is, basically the Eagles are going to be able to put up points. Their vertical game is still not what it used to be because Deshaun Jackson is no longer in an Eagles uniform. He's in Washington, and now you got Macklin and Cooper and the boys that have to come through and find a way to go deep. But Nick Foles was even missing guys sometimes when they were open deep. When you looked at him yesterday, he wasn't perfect, but he still made some good throws. In the end, what it comes down to is that everything was working against the Giants. Like Antrell Rose said, they basically took a game. They took a day off because they let the Eagles come out and punch them right in the mouth. And when you let that happen at the very beginning of a game within this division, that's usually a bad sign because both teams are usually hyped about going up against one another, and it usually doesn't go down like that. So when it does, it's usually an indication that one team did not come to play. And last night, that was clearly the New York Giants.
Okay, so wait a second. But you did agree with Eric that it was all about the Eagles, but now you're saying it's 50-50, that it was also...
No, I'm saying... Okay. No, I'm saying that the Eagles came out and they punched him in the mouth, and I'm going to listen to Antrell Roll and what he said about his team in terms of taking the day off. I'm simply saying to you, I should have known that this was going to happen, that they would end up scoreless, but I should have known they were going to lose this game the second we realized that Jennings wouldn't play, because with Jennings not playing, you weren't going to have a running game. And if you don't have a running game and all you're going to do most of the game is pass the football, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're at their mercy, at least to some degree, especially when you're Eli Manning and you don't have the most elite weapons in the world to go to.
I'm going to disagree with both of you about this. And I first guessed this because I tweeted about it. I was shocked at how the Giants came out with bad body language. Like I'm with Antrell Roll, like they were just taking the entire night off. And I should have known when we sat here, we had Mark Schlereth in your seat on Friday. He picked the Giants. Stephen A. picked the Giants. And then it was up to me, and I already picked the Giants, so I'm not going to change. And I said, I think Philly just won this game. This is back, Stephen A., to my theory that I've told you about many times on this show about the New York football Giants. Tom Coughlin doesn't motivate this team. The New York media motivates this team. What have we seen so many times in the past? This team will get off to a horrendous start with Eli as the quarterback. The media will call them garbage, get them out of our sight, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll say, oh, yeah, watch this. So what happened this year? Opening Monday Night Football. Remember that at Detroit? This team looked hapless and hopeless. 35-14 Lions. Remember that?
Yep.
And then they go home, and Arizona did pretty much the same thing to them in New Jersey. And the media said, get them out of our sight. And what did they do? They responded, motivated by the media, by winning 3 straight games, including that Thursday night game at Washington, 45-14. They looked like a Super Bowl team that night. And all of a sudden, they were the big, bad Giants again. And everybody is picking the Giants to win at Philadelphia. I think a majority of experts, I don't know this for a fact, but it seemed like many experts picked the Giants to win at Philadelphia. And how did the Giants respond? As if they could just sort of roll their helmets out on the field, and Philly would fold up and lay down, and it would be over.
That's saying a lot, Skip.
Okay.
With a head coach and a quarterback who have won 2 Super Bowls, saying that you can't play from in front. So that's saying a lot.
Okay, but they get motivated by the media, and then they get on late season rolls, except this time it started a little earlier in the year. They got on an early season roll, games 3, 4, and 5,
yeah.
And then come out to this one, and this is devastating. This is 27-0. They did not want to play last night from opening kickoff.
Listen, I think the Eagles have a lot to do with it. Over the last 13 games, the Eagles have won 10. And I think when you start looking at the numbers and you start looking at, with 10 penalties, that means that we're chasing a lot, we're grabbing, we're not physically as good as these guys. And again, only 31% for the Eagles on 3rd down. So the Eagles still have so much more to gain offensively. I didn't think,
to your point, Nick Foles threw him 2 of the biggest presents you could throw him, like the ugly interceptions.
Exactly.
You can't even cash that in.
And wait until that offense really starts to roll with Nick Foles playing a lot better.
It can't.
I think it's going to be a huge. I think it's going to be a huge gap between the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Redskins and the Giants.
Did you pick the Eagles to win at home? I know I asked you.
Yeah, come on now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay,
but that was more
exactly.
No,
I'm like, hold on.
That was great analysis
Is that what
of all
that
the
was?
numbers.
You're the expert in you.
That's right.
Okay, my bad. Didn't mean to do
Fair
that.
enough.
6 seconds ago, snap to A-Rod. Throws right side. Yes! Touchdown! And a dagger! The dagger to Andrew Quillis on the right side! And the Packers have the lead. 26-24. 3 seconds to go.
Got out there. They were in a man coverage with 53 out on Q. And Q had been kind of in my ear most of the day about throwing him the ball when he had that matchup. So throwing the ball. Reminded he's had a catch like that late in the game to win a game before, and he ran a good route, and we put it in the right spot.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers put a fast one in Miami yesterday. He borrowed an old trick from Dan Marino. He used a fake spike to set up the game-winning touchdown with 3 seconds left on the clock. Rodgers finished with 3 touchdown passes, 264 yards, and he committed 0 turnovers. Stephen A., tomorrow's your birthday. Maybe that was an early birthday present. How impressed were you with Aaron Rodgers' last drive?
Well, I'm usually rather impressed with Aaron Rodgers. That's why when I'm not impressed with him, it's an aberration. It's a shock. It's not something I anticipate nor expect because I think he's the best quarterback in the world. That's just how I feel about him. He's a bad man because how he throws the football, as far as I'm concerned, is unrivaled by anybody in the sport. This boy can throw a beautiful, beautiful pass. And this is just the way that he is. Trick plays, no trick plays, connecting with Corliss with 3 seconds left in regulation. I'm not going to sit there and jump up and say it's a cause of celebration. It was against the Miami Dolphins, a franchise that I have very little expectations for at this moment in time anyway. So it's no big deal. They did give up 2 leads. They did trail 24-17. And even though they drove for a field goal with a little bit over 4 minutes left, typical Miami couldn't do anything and ended up giving the ball right back to Aaron Rodgers with 2 minutes and 4 seconds left in regulation before he drove them down the field and ultimately registered that touchdown. Converting on a 4th and 10 with an 18-yard pass to Jordy Nelson, where one of the tacklers looked like he didn't even want to tackle him, for crying out loud. It's not surprising, but Aaron Rodgers is just an elite passer. He's big time, and this does not surprise me at all that he could come through in the clutch and do what he did. Mere bag of shells. He's Aaron Rodgers. When he doesn't do it, it's news to me. When he does do it, it's par for the course. He's Aaron Rodgers.
All I can say about Aaron Rodgers' final drive is that he did pull it off. But allow me, Stephen A. Smith, to count the ways the final drive was not impressive by Aaron Rodgers' standards. Let's start with 3rd and 9 at the Miami 47-yard line. Aaron Rodgers got stripped of the football. He fumbled. The ball is loose, and it looks like 2 Dolphins have a better shot at it than T.J. Lang, who at 6 feet 4 inches and 318 pounds, dived on the ball before 2 Dolphins did. He went dancing bear on it. I don't know how. So that brought about the 4th and 10 play you're talking about. Zing, out route to Jordy Nelson, but Brent Grimes had already fallen flat on his face. It was a great throw, but I think it might have been defended fairly well if Brent Grimes, who's really good, hadn't fallen down. So
Ifs,
now
could'ves, would'ves.
Yeah, now we get to 3rd and 10 at the 30. Aaron Rodgers, under duress, he's in big trouble, and he flips the ball to James Starks, who should have been tackled for, I don't know, like a 3 or 4 yard gain. And what happens? Number 51 for the Miami Dolphins, what's his name? Philip Wheeler, number 52, pardon that. He has a shot at tackling James Starks and runs right past him, just runs right by him. It's an easy tackle for a 3 yard gain, and he missed. He didn't even see him with the football. I don't know what he's doing. So now it brings about 2nd and 6 at the 16. There are 12 seconds left in the game. And Aaron Rodgers tries something that he's now applauded for. He went Dan Marino. This was as high risk and maybe as dumb a risky play as you could attempt at this point with no timeouts left. He signals outside to a rookie. Devontae Adams is a rookie. Jordy Nelson misses a signal. He's in the slot. He doesn't even move on the play. But Devontae at least looked up and said, wait, you're going to throw it to me? Cortland Finnegan is covering him with outside leverage. Cortland Finnegan is close to the boundary. This is a 9th-year cornerback known for his tackling and his physical play. And all of a sudden, what got into Cortland Finnegan? I don't know. He completely froze. He just stood there. He could have attacked this kid. This is a rookie with the football. Attack him, grab him around the ankles, get him down because you have Jamar Taylor, your corner, is coming across fast behind you. You could have tackled him in bounds. The game would have been over. It's over. All you have to do is tackle him in bounds. And Joe Philbin understated his disgust after the game and said, I thought we were in a position to tackle better on that play. Yes, you were, because the game could have ended. But Aaron Rodgers got away with it because Devontae got away from both of them and turned it into a 12-yard gain. So now you've got 1st and goal at the 4-yard line with just enough time left. And it's the same Philip Wheeler who gets victimized by Corliss for the winning touchdown. I'm sorry, I just counted the ways that was not an impressive drive for me because Aaron Rodgers is getting applauded for something that could have blown up in his face and made him the GOAT of the game instead of the hero of the game.
But he is the hero of the game because they did find a way to win because it was passes that he threw.
He pulled it off.
10. Well, again,
you're asking me how impressed I am? Zero. Like zero.
Scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, like zero.
Okay.
Way to go,
I'm
Aaron.
always impressed with the win, Skip. And I'm certainly impressed with the notion that you would find something to be critical about. But if this were Tom Brady or somebody else that you like, you wouldn't have been saying that.
Nope, I would be objective about that because Tom Brady would never have to resort to these kind of plays. I mean, come on. Tom Brady wouldn't do that.
Tom Brady wouldn't do that.
I watched a lot of this game. Aaron Rodgers is getting really cool out on the field now. He's yucking it up. He's smiling. He's laughing. He's kidding with the DBs and having just a good old time. It's like a walk in the park now. And as he said after the game,
it is a walk in the park.
On the fake spike, he said, I was freestyling. Yeah, I was freestyling. Well, one of these days, he's going to freestyle right into the goat horns.
It just came to him.
Yeah.
You said, say what you want to say. All I know is this.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers told everybody to relax.
Uh-oh. He did.
Yeah.
And ever since then,
LAX.
we've had every reason to relax.
Well, I don't know how relaxed you could have been watching this game yesterday. I think you'd been on the edge of your seat.
So on a scale of 1 and 10, how impressed were you?
Not a
I'm a 0.
Squad,
You're a 0?
Yeah, by his standards. I mean, he did win a Super Bowl like 8 years ago. Or was it? No, was it 10 years ago or 8 years ago?
Stephen A., when did he win the Super Bowl?
Like 4 years ago. The 10 years ago would have been Tom Brady. That would have been Tom Brady.
Touche.
Yeah, that would have been Tom Brady.
That was good.
But at least Tom Brady has gotten back to the Super Bowl twice since.
Here we go.
That's fair. And lost. And lost.
Okay. All right. Guess we're equal. Touche to you both. A good run game and a good defense is a good recipe for a winning team, I've been told. See the Dallas Cowboys and DeMarco Murray. Murray had his 6th straight game with 100-plus yards or more, equaling the record set by Jim Brown back in 1958. I was a teenager then. Dez was very impressed with Murray's performance.
Man's a beast, man. He is a beast. And you know, for any doubters, if there are any, if you don't want to believe it now, you better start. That man's an animal. And I think we're making that very known, you know, in this league. And we just got to continue to keep doing what we're doing, continue to keep on fighting, continue to keep on us wideouts, continue to keep blocking on those edges. And then when our number is called, we got to continue to keep making plays to keep these drives alive.
Keep these drives alive. You know who kept some drives alive? I think you called him DeMarvelous.
DeMarvelous.
He's no longer the fumble. He's DeMarvelous now.
Depends what day it is.
You got to be good to him.
You got
to say DeMarvelous. You got to say DeMarvelous Murray.
Marvelous Murray.
He almost gave it one early, the one out of bounds where he was kind of fumbling with it.
He would have been DeFumble at that moment on your Twitter account.
Hey, I'm a fan.
He's a fan. That's how fans are. That's very true. Eric Allen back at the desk.
Yeah.
I need you to be honest. I need you to speak with your analytical hat, not your heart.
I really will.
Seriously. Are the Cowboys the best team in the NFL right now, today, Monday morning?
Today, if we're going to break down a Power 5, would the Cowboys be on top of the hill?
Yes.
With all those outstanding players. Jason Witten, the best Cowboy ever, I heard.
No.
Recently.
But he's pretty good.
Rod Marinelli, a defensive coordinator, and Scott Linehan, offensive coordinator. Great running game. Not since Jim Brown.
1958?
88 playing big. Williams playing big.
Go ahead. Preach on it.
Number 1. They would be the number 1 team in the National Football League. There's no team in the National Football League at this point was as balanced, as powerful, has enough swagger. Did you see them push around?
Yes.
The Seattle Seahawks the other day?
They out-bullied the Bullets.
They came in, ran the ball down their throat, physical up front. All those guys up front deserve credit. They did just an outstanding job of really representing, as I said, not as good, but they remind me, Skip, you remember I said this, they remind me of those 90 Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. They do. Because up front, they're nasty. They walk around. They're pushing guys after the pile.
Yeah.
Making big plays. And then you can throw the ball to 88. And then the backside receiver. How about, again, and the supporting cast, Dunbar and those guys getting it done in the middle of the football field. So, again, if you're not going to be able to take advantage of guys on the outside, I think inside-wise with Witten and Dunbar and those guys making big plays on third down, man. Just really nice.
So they're number one.
Number one. Defense, offense, running game.
Most balanced team in the league right now.
I see Stephen A. over here
rolling his eyes.
Yeah. Number one. Just balance all over the place.
So Stephen A., if there's a Power 5 Monday morning after that win, he's going with Dallas. They're number 1. What about you? Best team in the NFL.
I'm not going to engage in that level of hyperbole, regardless of the fact that, You know, I sit here today, a humbled soul in light of what the Dallas Cowboys did to the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, ruining my birthday, to be quite honest with you.
Happy birthday.
The fact that it's tomorrow, but thank you. The fact of the matter is that let's pump the brakes just a little bit here. The Denver Broncos, to me, deserve to be atop the power rankings. New England's coming. Cincinnati's falling. The San Diego Chargers are still there, but had their work cut out for them against the hapless Oakland Raiders yesterday. When you look at the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning and everybody, you're talking about swag. You see Demaryius Thomas, you know, talking about how easy it was for the New York Jets. That's swag. You talk about Julius Thomas. That's swag. You talk about Wes Welker. That's swag. You talk about DeMarcus Ware and Aqib Talib and those boys. To me, as far as I'm concerned, their swag is elevating on the defensive side of the ball for the Denver Broncos. I think when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, you can't ignore what they did against Seattle, and you got to give them all the credit in the world. But we did acknowledge that Seattle is not the same team they were last year with the absence of Clemens and Bryant, and the fact that there's some girth and there's some mass that is dissipated from the defensive side of the ball for them. We saw Maxwell also go down, so they got issues at the corner position. Plus, we have to look at it from the perspective that, again, what were we saying about Dallas prior to this? Yeah, they beat Houston, a team led by Ryan Fitzpatrick. It took overtime. They came back, they tied that score, they put it into overtime. The week before that, they smashed New Orleans. We've learned that New Orleans doesn't really have a defense worth speaking about. Then before that, they were down 21-0 to St. Louis before they came back and beat St. Louis. So all I'm saying is that when you look at it, the 3 previous weeks, or 2 of the 3 previous weeks before yesterday's game, there were some questions about the Dallas Cowboys. They found ways to win, but you still weren't sure about them. So the fact that they beat Seattle definitely resonates. It matters. It's significant. It's not something to be summarily dismissed. But at the same time, do you take that one game and you put them atop the rankings above everybody else? Maybe in the NFC, I think you can make that argument. But to put them against Peyton, ahead of Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, I'm just not going to go that far.
Okay, that's fair. And, yeah, at the risk of jinxing my Dallas Cowboys, which you know I'm very hesitant to do, I have to be objective today. And I have to say, Stephen A. Smith, Denver went to Seattle and lost in overtime, correct?
Yep.
The Dallas Cowboys just went back to Seattle to face down all their old demons from 2006, 2012. And they didn't just beat the Seahawks in the NFL's loudest outdoor venue, or at least maybe second loudest to Kansas City's. They beat them up. They beat the tar out of them. Yep. Listen, this is 30 offensive points with no help, because there were no Seattle turnovers until the one that ended the game. So no help. And Eric, you can appreciate this, I think. This is a Dallas team that keeps facing down demons, because clearly New Orleans had an NFL record 40 first downs against them on a Sunday night a year ago. Right. And then they came back on a Sunday night at Dallas and just beat the heck out of the New Orleans Saints. Yeah. Beat them handily. Right. So now they go up to Seattle, and they create more demons right away. They're down 3-0. They get a punt block just the way they did in 2012 early in that game for a touchdown. And it's 10-0 hole that you have to dig out of. And what did they do? They put in Joseph Randle in place of DeMarvelous. Yes. And Joseph Randle gets free up the middle for 38 huge yards. That might have been the biggest single early play in the game, right? It got them back in the game. And little Lance Dunbar caught a couple of big passes in that drive that got them loose. Huge. And then DeMarco finished it off. So you have all 3 running backs contributing. Then you've got Dwayne Harris. He did it again. He tries to do too much on punts, and it slips through his hands and between his legs, and he loses it and just hands Russell Wilson a touchdown. Did they fold? Did they crumble? Did they cry all the way back to Dallas the way they used to? No, they did not. They fought right back. Yep. Then Romo, I think he lifted his leg too soon and signaled for the snap, but it's a botch play. It's a fumble snap, and you just give them an easy field goal. Defense held on, but give them a field goal. Did they crumble? Did they fold their tents the way they used to? This team is made of the right stuff, because that's the place where most teams fold quickly, right?
I agree.
Well, listen, let me say this, Skip. Your points are valid, but I still disagree. And the reason why is because you're pointing to demons that are anywhere from 8 to 2 years old, as opposed to the demons that the Denver Broncos faced coming fresh off of last season's Super Bowl, the same year in which they got demolished. So I don't think you can ignore that. That's point number one.
I'll give you that.
That's point number one. Point number two, styles. Just like they make fights, they make football games too. The Dallas Cowboys have a massive offensive line, and they're running the football. The Denver Broncos game is predicated on a passing attack because you have the great Peyton Manning. You don't have no Sean Moreno back there. You've got Monty Ball, neither of whom measure up to DeMarco Murray. And even though that offensive line with Clady being back in there and healthy as opposed to what he was during the Super Bowl when he wasn't there, the reality is that Denver's offensive line is not the massive offensive line that the Dallas Cowboys are. So the combination of those two things can't be ignored. You're not talking about just about style. You're talking about demons that are more frequent, that resonate more profoundly than Dallas. I can assure you whatever demons Tony Romo experiencing from bobbling a snap on a field goal attempt 8 years ago to getting smacked around a couple of years ago pales in comparison to getting drubbed 43-8 in the Super Bowl this same year. And I think that's so I would look at it from that perspective, and I would tell you, don't come to me about demons or the Dallas Cowboys. If anybody's got demons when it comes to Seattle, bigger demons to overcome, it would be the Denver Broncos because of what happened to them and how more recent it was that beatdown occurred.
Okay.
Some of these guys weren't even on Seattle when Romo left.
I get you, but remember, Dallas's defense just last year was historically bad. Yeah. Most people thought going into this year it was going to be historically bad. They lost Sean Lee. DeMarcus Ware is now in Denver. And look what they're doing because they're built with a new backbone to me. Is that fair? Yeah, Are you seeing a new backbone?
I do. And it's about effort and attitude on defense. And that's what I see jump off the film. And I see guys understanding their spacing, really running to the football, being disciplined in their rush, keeping Russell Wilson inside the pocket, not going for the sack, but going for the proper position to make sure Russell has to throw from inside the pocket, not outside the pocket. Offensively, and we talked a lot about the 400 carries, I thought it was huge to have those other running backs step up in different roles, particularly Dunbar. I mean, that is outstanding to have a guy who can come in and sub and have explosive plays at the running back spot. The Denver Broncos issue, I think, ultimately, and that's why I didn't put them number one, is because they cannot really run the football. Monte Ball is out. Now you have Hillman, who's 190 pounds. What's the most important thing the Denver Broncos have to do as a running back? Protect Peyton Manning. If I send my 240-pound linebacker at Ronnie Hillman over and over, at some point he's going to have to exit the football game, have to bring in someone to protect him. And that's why I don't think that the Denver Broncos want to win this way. I think they wanted to run the football effectively. Right. They don't have enough confidence to run the football late in the game to win games.
Did you see what
Dallas Cowboys do?
They do.
They will run the football down your throat. There's no way the Denver Broncos will be able to do that consistently in the months of November and December when the weather turns, when you have to go to New England and play a game, when you have to go outside and play a football game. You're not going to be able to throw the ball 40 times and win.
Stephen said over and over again, we can't keep up, or DeMarco can't keep up with 20-plus touches, 30 touches a game.
I agree. Okay. And that's why you bring in Joseph Randle and Dunbar to be able to alleviate some of the role that he has to have. I don't care if it's screen, draw game. You have to bring those guys in. If they can have explosive plays against teams like Seattle, who has a fast defense, they can run against anyone in the league.
And by the way, just a second, Stephen A., back to your Peyton point. Did you see what Peyton said after the Jets game? The Jets dared Denver to run the football. Instead of 8 in the box, it was 8 outside the box. And Ronnie Hillman got his 100, didn't he?
He got his 100 yards, but in the end, you have to find a guy who can protect Peyton Manning on blitz pickup, because that's what the Denver Broncos have to do to win football games. And again, he's a nice spark, but he's not going to be able to protect against those big linebackers coming.
Stephen A., your point.
Well, when we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, guys, it's going to come down to this reality. Somewhere along the way, somebody's going to figure out a way to neutralize Dallas's running game. somewhere along the line, whether somebody's going to come up with some big boys on the defensive line. They're going to be right there at the line of scrimmage. Let's take, for example, just hypothesizing, Skip, Eric, you're talking about somebody with a Vince Wilfork or Haloti Ngata or somebody like that. Obviously, they're both in the AFC, but I'm just saying use those guys as an example for just a second. Somewhere along the line, that massive offensive line is going to run into a massive defensive line. It's going to neutralize the running game, and then Tony Romo is going to have to come to the rescue and throw that football because it's going to be clear that you can't run the football. When that moment arrives, we're going to see who the Cowboys are. Okay. Right now, this is who they are. This is their identity. Got to give them credit. They've improved incredibly. I get it.
I think Skip wants to say something.
But we'll see.
Go ahead, Skip.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Brandon Mebane, you may not know him, but he's in the class of Wilfork or Haloti Ngata.
Yes, he is.
So they pushed him around yesterday. But if that happens, I'm going to point out to you that as much credit as DeMarvelous is getting today on this show, certainly, okay, so he carried it 29 times yesterday. Do not discount the fact that Tony Romo threw it 32 times at Seattle with 0 interceptions. 0.
Yeah, but that's not. I'm not talking about the balance. But I'm not talking about the balance. I'm talking about at some point in time, you can't do what works for you in a game. Eric knows this just as well as you do, Skip.
All right,
at some point in time in the season, you can't do what you normally do, and it's the team that's able to adjust and resort to something else in order to win games. Even though Tony Romo threw the ball 32 times, Skip, DeMarco Murray was running the ball effectively enough where it was a bona fide threat, as opposed to you being clearly neutralized and,
how much?
This is what we're going to have to do to win this team.
How much did running the football help on 3rd and 20 when Romo pulled that off?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, Romo, that was a fantastic play on Romo's part, no doubt. But it was still just one play.
All right, really quickly before we get out of here, we haven't even talked about this. Everyone tweeting about the matchup between Des Bryant and Richard Sherman. Your take?
Oh, it was good. It was a good matchup. Good balance. I thought that when you're talking about Des Bryant, one of the more competitive receivers in the league, big, strong, physical, and you saw at the end of their matchup, you saw the complimentary, hey, you're a baller. Oh, you're a baller too. Right. So I think Des got the best of him yesterday. Yeah. And Des is a fantastic football player. Richard Sherman was a good batter.
But Des got the best.
Oh, Des got the best. Des got 88.
All right.
88 got the best of him.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA. The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
The Boston Red Sox have won the World Series.
The new college football playoff.
The Seminoles have completed the perfect season.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
On the show, you know, boxing is a favorite topic of ours, and recently Stephen A. Smith commented on Floyd Mayweather's next fight.
If Floyd avoids this fight and he fights Miguel Cotto or Canelo Alvarez, I have no problem with it. If he avoids this fight and takes on Amir Khan, I will come on national television and I will acknowledge to you that Floyd Money Mayweather is avoiding Manny Pacquiao. Because there is no excuse for him with 2 fights left on his contract, with him scheduled to retire in the fall, according to him. There is no excuse on God's green earth for Amir Khan to step into a boxing ring with Floyd Mayweather Jr. with those 3 big fights out there. Amir Khan is a good fighter. He is not in Floyd Mayweather's class in terms of box office, etc. The fights that are out there for Floyd Money Mayweather is Canelo Alvarez, a rematch with him, a rematch with Miguel Cotto, who's now being trained by Freddie Roach and has looked very, very impressive. If Floyd fights Amir Khan instead of Pacquiao, Alvarez, or Cotto, I will come here on national television and tell you my boy is avoiding Pacquiao. Because there's no excuse for that. Not for Amir Khan. Not for Amir Khan.
All right, well, Floyd was asked about Stephen A's remarks by FightHype.com, and here's his response. Listen, I don't give 2 flying expletive what Stephen A. Smith say. I never seen Stephen A. Smith dribble a basketball, catch a football, or box. So I can give 2 flying expletive what Stephen A. Smith say. Quote me on that. I repeat, I don't give an expletive what Stephen A. Smith gotta say. He's just a critic. Critics only got an opinion like everybody else. Everybody can always talk like they're a football genius, like they're a basketball genius, or like they're a boxing genius, but we ain't never seen them doing nothing but criticize athletes. So it doesn't matter who I fight. I can fight two duds. At the end of the day, it's about working smarter, not harder. So Stephen A. Smith can go on First Take and say whatever he wants to say. Stephen A., I noticed over the weekend, I believe, you tweeted back at Floyd, because I'm assuming, and if you read the entire article, he tried to insinuate that you were being muzzled, that you can't speak freely. What's your take on all of this?
Well, my first take about it is that Floyd knows better than that. He knows that I say what I mean and I mean what I say. And if anybody's backtracking, some would say that he's backtracked. Even if I did backtrack, which I don't believe that I do, at least I got a legitimate reason to. I work for somebody. I have to answer to somebody. That's ESPN. You want to call that a shame, then call most of the American public being shameful because they're employed by somebody else. Floyd is worth close to $500 million, if not more. But he's backtracked from time to time, so I'd ask him to look in the mirror in that regard, and I'll leave it at that in terms of that particular point of view. But to take this matter further, I said on Twitter just the other night, Skip, and I'm going to reiterate my point. I'm not going to get into a Twitter war with Floyd Mayweather Jr. You know how I feel about Floyd. You know how great I think he is as a boxer, as a fighter. I think he's the best on the planet, and I stand by that. I'm going to be a man about this because somebody needs to. Here's the bottom line. Floyd Mayweather Jr. continues to tell the public that he just wants to give the fans what we want to see. My response is people have been asking for Pacquiao for years. Miguel Cotto is an elite fighter, especially since now he's training with Freddie Roach. You go that route, nobody can knock you for that. Canelo Alvarez, despite the fact that you're Floyd and you schooled him and picked him apart, this dude is a young lion. He's big time. Some would think he's worthy of a rematch because he may have learned from that experience. They may have thought they saw some slippage from Floyd over the last couple of fights against Marcos Maidana. All right, and that might make the fight interesting. So you can understand that. But outside of those two fighters passing on Pacquiao, for those two fighters, there's no excuse to pass on Manny Pacquiao, particularly if what you're coming to us with is Amir Khan. Now, if Floyd Mayweather deciphered what I was trying to say, what I am saying is, in my opinion, Amir Khan is not in Floyd Mayweather's class. He doesn't belong in the same boxing ring as Floyd Mayweather. He didn't pay the dues that Floyd Mayweather paid. He doesn't have a flawless record exercised by or displayed by Danny Garcia, beating him to a pulp with a TKO victory in 4 rounds just a couple of years back. When you talk about a premier fight for boxing fans to see, we don't give a damn about Amir Khan when it comes to who we want to see in the ring with Floyd Mayweather Jr. And if that is what provoked Floyd Mayweather Jr. to go on his diatribe and go off on me, that's fine. I accept it. I'm a big boy. This is what we do. I'm not trying to hurt anybody. Talking about, they always talk about critics criticizing athletes. Last time I checked, we do a lot of praising of athletes as well. And one of the people that I know I have religiously praised is the greatness of Floyd Mayweather Jr. So because he disagrees with me on this particular point, he wants to go into that diatribe. The man has my number. He knows how to catch me. Floyd Mayweather Jr. knows that if he wanted to see me in Vegas, all he's got to do is pick up the phone and tell me he needs me to come out there, and I'd flow out there to talk to him man to man. All of this wasn't necessary, but he can do what he has to do. I'm not going to fall bait for it. I'm not going to get caught up in all of that in terms of trying to go back and forth, trying to disrespect a guy whose greatness as a boxer I have religiously and repeatedly lauded. Floyd Mayweather, to me, is the best boxer on the planet Earth. Floyd Mayweather, to me, would beat Pacquiao. I dare say I predicted that by the 11th round he would knock Pacquiao out. I believe that. And if me saying I'm acknowledging your greatness, but you can't give us this rinky-dink fight, because that's what a fight with Amir Khan would be. It would not be worthy of what we anticipate the closing out portion of Floyd Mayweather's career should be. If he wants to have a problem with me on that, that's fine. I've known Floyd for years. The crew that he's with, I've got nothing but respect for all of those brothers. His daddy's a great trainer. All of these guys are great at what they do. And the people that work for him, I know him. They know how much respect that I have for them. I know they're just doing their jobs. Nobody's calling anybody out. We're simply acknowledging that you're Floyd Mayweather Jr. This is the end of the road. You are on the verge of breaking Rocky Marciano's record by going undefeated in 49-plus fights. There is no way in hell you should be able to get away with selling us Amir Khan. We want Pacquiao, and you said you want to give the fans the fight they want to see. That's all I said. That's what I'm going to continue to say. And if it gets me cussed out repeatedly, so be it. I'm a big man. I play by big man rules. I can take it.
Before I respond to everything you just said, I should disqualify myself. I'm not objective about this. You're my partner of going on 20 years. You're my friend, and you are my man. But I was dumbfounded by these comments from Floyd Mayweather Jr. because I have sat here for year after show after year after show hearing you say nothing but great things about Floyd Mayweather Jr., sometimes, in my view, defending him to a fault. And you say one little thing that I consider remotely objective, just one little thing, and you get that?
Crazy.
Both barrels right back in your face? Are you kidding me? Does that not qualify as biting the hand that has fed you, or at least defended you, over and over and over again on this show? And just a quick thought, and I don't want to get off track about this, but I got to tell you, I get sick and tired of the notion from star athletes that if you didn't play at a high level, you can't comment on a sport or a performance. You can, by the way, shoot the basketball. Floyd doesn't know that, but that's irrelevant to the point, because the point is, Floyd, if you do a little homework and look around sports, you see that the San Antonio dynasty, the Spurs, was built by a guy named R.C. Buford. Go check out his track record playing sports. Tell me how far he got out of high school. Not very far. Go look at John Schneider, the architect of the Seattle Seahawks potential dynasty, and it still could turn into a dynasty. Go see what he played after high school. He didn't.
Right.
Okay, so Floyd doesn't hold water. I'm tired of it. Give this man a little credit, because he did play some college basketball, and he can still shoot the basketball. But again, that's irrelevant. The point here is that you have been nothing but complimentary. Doesn't even begin to size up the magnitude of how positive you have been, over the top positive in favor of Floyd on this show. And Floyd, how smart are you to undo even an ounce of that? Because this is Floyd, this is your guy right here. This is the guy who's defended you like no one else has on the national airways. So, Stephen A., I appreciate what you say, because it was also very objective.
Stephen A., no, honestly, when I read that, I thought it came out of nowhere, and I thought it was very unfair of Floyd to do that to you, because and just like you said, to a fault, you on this show, you defend him, and I've made it clear how I feel about him, and you still separate the two and defend him for what you say is an excellent boxer. So for him to go out on you like this is so disrespectful in so many different ways. I appreciate your candor and being a man about it, because there's no need to get into it with him, because it's showing more about who he is and who you are.
I'll leave it at that. You know, I don't have anything else to say. I'm not going anywhere. My point is this. I'm going to continue to do my job, be objective, be fair, and I don't wish a failure for anybody, but I'm going to call it like I see it, no matter who it is, as fair-minded as I possibly can, with the exception of me making fun of the Cowboys, because I'm a native New Yorker who hated the Cowboys.
Yes, because that's not fair at all.
I'll say that's not fairness, but outside of that, the bottom line is simple. We don't want to see the great boxer that is Floyd Mayweather Jr. up against Amir Khan. You keep telling the fans what you want to give us, what we want to see. Yep. We want Pacquiao. That is not changing. You either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Cuss me out all you want. I can take it.
We ended there, ladies and gentlemen. Well. Tom Brady and the Patriots dominated their AFC East rival yesterday with the 37-22 victory over the Bills. Brady threw 4 touchdowns to up his career record to 23-2 against Buffalo. Brady also went 27 of 37 for 361 yards to become the NFL's 5th player with 60 300-yard games. The quarterback is also amazing. He's catching up with their one Brett Favre. I wanted to talk about this briefly before we get to the MVP conversation. Okay. I just read he had to do heavy taping of his ankle. He had a lot of therapy on his ankle before he went out there and played, and still played like he was amazing. So where are we putting Brady in this MVP conversation?
I don't think he's in an MVP conversation as of yet. I'm not sure it's going to last, depending on the health of the tight ends.
Sure.
When you talk about the Patriots, we talk about all kind of different scenarios, but Tom Brady is consistent. He is one of the greats that ever played the game now.
Yes.
I'm just talking about right now. He's not in the MVP conversation. They have to do a lot of 11 personnel, which means 2 tight ends. So the set has to be perfect for them to be successful, have to dominate the middle of the football field. You know, I was just watching the receivers still, with the amazing throw and catch he had yesterday with, you know, young player. They still don't get great separation. I mean, you see the receivers fighting with the DBs down 20 yards downfield. That means that they're not confident in their speed. So the accuracy is not going to be exactly where it needs to be. I don't see him having this many 4-touchdown, big-time games just because of how they want to win. They want to run the football effectively. They want to play great defense. They want to ball control, and at times do this. Gronkowski is a beast. But as you saw yesterday, he went out the game twice. I'm just not sure he's going to be able to play a complete season, and that's going to really affect Tom Brady's numbers.
All right. Stephen A., does he belong in the conversation?
Of course he belongs in the conversation because he finds a way to continue to make the New England Patriots competitive, and he deserves a lot of credit. He's Tom Brady. Is he the leading candidate or one of the top 2 or 3 candidates? No. But he's showing you that before this season is over, he may very well be in that position. Let me get to your point, Eric, about Gronkowski, though. I'll confess this. I watched some of that game yesterday, and I must admit to you that I was very uncomfortable with what the Buffalo Bills were doing. I understand that Gronkowski's a big boy. I get that. But they seem to be making a concerted effort to continue to go after his legs. Yeah. Play after play after play. And I'm just saying, I understand it's legal. This is the NFL. We get that. I know that. Please don't get me wrong. But at the same time, it's like, man, you know, it's like they know what he went through last year. They know what he's trying to overcome. And they're like, you know what, we're going to tear him down. Limb by limb, we're going to tear him down. And it's just, it was almost one of those things, you don't want to call it dirty because it's legal. But at the same time, it was one of those reasons where you almost understood where Roger Goodell was going in terms of trying to implore more safety, while at the same time resenting Roger Goodell for it, because with such a focus on the concussions and staying away from the headshots, now you're encouraging guys to go low, which justifies what we saw yesterday. I saw very few tackles where they tried to get him in the upper thigh area, the stomach area, the chest area. They were trying to take this guy's knees out from what I could see. And I was very uncomfortable watching that, Skip and Eric. Again, I'm not qualified to go further than that, but I was uncomfortable with what I saw coming from the Buffalo Bills yesterday to one of their contemporaries. Even though he's a competitor, he's an NFL player, and it disappointed me to see that.
I appreciate you saying that. I agree with you. It's not head hunting of Gronkowski, it's knee hunting, and they are knee hunting.
Unfortunately,
right?
I agree. Yes, without a doubt.
Okay, back to Kerry's question. Tom Brady has to be in the MVP race now, because 2 weeks ago, I'm going to remind you, and really to your opening point, all I heard is that Bill Belichick has failed to give Tom Brady the weapons or the protection to do anything but fail at age 37. And in 2 weeks, we have seen Tom Brady go from RIP to MVP candidate. Am I right about that? Because against the Cincinnati defense that was, at that point, most people said it might be the best defense in pro football, destroyed it. And now yesterday, at Buffalo, against a division rival that was 3-2 and flying high, with the 5th best defense in allowing points, just in the second half alone, Tom Brady went 15 for 17 for almost 300 yards, 274, and 3 touchdowns, just in the second half alone. Well, if he has no weapons, if he has no one who can separate, how can you not say he hasn't risen into MVP contention, right? Because he's doing it with mirrors. Well, if you can do it that well with mirrors, man, you're my MVP. You should be leading that race.
Well, how can you say it?
Well, again, it's not going to last because the guys around him are not the kind of performers
but the question is that right now, after those 2 games, should he at least be a candidate?
No.
Well, he could be anyone could be a candidate, but I mean, he's not a legit like Phillip Rivers type.
Okay, I'll give you that. Phillip Rivers should be number 1. I think DeMarco should be number 2.
And Peyton Manning, of course, is still.
But I think Tom Brady's starting to vie for that 3rd spot. Seriously.
Against Peyton?
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, look who Peyton's throwing to. Look who this guy's throwing to.
And again, the guys who Peyton throwing to, that's going to last.
Okay.
The Thomases, that's going to last.
All right.
I'm not sure it's going to last.
We're talking about right here, right now.
No.
You have to say
maybe fifth.
So LaFell and Edelman, they won't last.
They won't last. The kind of performance they put up, the kind of performance he's going to need to put his name in the MVP race towards the end of the season, not going to last.
Okay, now what hasn't lasted is Gerard Mayo sounds like he's gone for the year.
That's
and Stephen Ridley sounds not very good either.
That's not good.
These are huge
that's
losses.
Huge in the middle of the football field.
And I agree with you. Gronk is just one low hit away from maybe being gone.
It's unfortunate that guys, it's a different type of launching that they're doing. They're not launching at the head. They're launching right at the knee or below the knee, and that's not right. I mean, there's a way to tackle a big guy. You can wrap his knees and roll and things like that. And I agree with Stephen. I just don't agree with the way they're going about tackling Big Gronk. It's not cool. Not cool.
All right. Belichick on Mayo just recently on a teleconference this morning said that they have to be prepared to move on without him. They're not for sure if they don't have him, but they're prepared. Eric Allen, we're prepared to move on without you, sadly.
Oh, man.
I know.
I'll be back, though.
All right.
I'll be back in the game.
For Stephen A's birthday?
No.
Okay.
Happy birthday for tomorrow. Save it up.
Thanks a lot, bro.
Yeah.
Love you, bro.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. Same
He
here, bro.
has to wear that Rondo jersey tomorrow.
He's wearing a Cowboy tie on his birthday?
On his birthday.
Oh,
it's his birthday suit. It's his birthday suit.
And then plastered all over in Philly?
All over, see?
Man.
I got to wear that. I got to wear that and the Cowboys hat, too.
Not good.
This weekend was full of injuries inside the NFL as well as outside the NFL. Basketball, namely. Kevin Durant has a Jones fracture. He complained of an ache in his right foot, and it showed that it was a Jones fracture. He'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks, undergoing some type of surgery. We're not for sure what, but the team has talked about him not being there and preparing of moving on without him, Stephen A. So how will this impact OKC?
Well, listen, first of all, this dude averaged 32 points last year, and he's the reigning league MVP. You're going to miss a Kevin Durant because he's a superstar. As far as I'm concerned, he's the second best player in all of the NBA in the world. So we know how big time he is, and we know that he's going to be missed. But I'm not as reticent as a lot of people appear to be about his departure. I'm incredibly interested and intrigued by the fact that Kevin Durant is gone, because now we're going to get an opportunity to see the guy who is considered to be the alpha male in terms of his approach, desperate to want to be that guy. Now this is going to be handed to Russell Westbrook. And because Russell Westbrook is now going to have the ball in his hands without having to be concerned about getting it to KD, it's going to be very, very interesting to see this brother's greatness and what he brings to the table. Let's be clear. Russell Westbrook is the most athletic point guard in NBA history. And I know Skip uses the word point guard loosely. But I'm telling you right now, this dude can average 25 in his sleep. And the fact that he doesn't have to worry about, quote unquote, running a show, and now the offensive responsibilities are going to be placed in his hands as a scorer, as electrifying as Russell Westbrook can be. Wouldn't surprise me at all if Russell Westbrook sat there and patted Kevin Durant on the shoulder and be like, bro, don't worry about it. I got this. You ain't got to worry about a thing. Just get yourself help. Take your time. I'll be back here waiting for you when you get back. We'll handle this. I'm telling you, I wouldn't put it past Russell Westbrook at all. I'm incredibly intrigued because I think this is going to be an opportunity that Russell Westbrook takes by the horn and shows the world how great he is as a player. I think it's going to be very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I am so with you on this. I think we're about to see Russell Westbrook unleashed. And look, it's debatable between him and Derrick Rose who's the most athletically explosive point guard ever. And I do use that term loosely because they're
Yeah,
more
those
two
two.
guards.
Definitely those
but
two.
Those two.
Yeah.
It's 1 and 1A. Now we get to see Russell be the point guard and the two guard at the highest level, where he's got to run the show and take over the show on a nightly basis. And I will point out about this injury, it is problematic. I'm not sure how soon Kevin will be back from it, because we saw what happened to Brooke Lopez. A second surgery was required. We saw it with Big Baby Davis. A second surgery was required. It just doesn't heal right the first time around. So they try to come back. They might push it just a little bit, and all of a sudden, it's broken again. It's right where it shouldn't be, on the outside of your foot. It takes way too much impact for such a tiny bone, and it's hard to get it right when Kevin's, what do we say, is he 6'10"? You know, it's a lot of force coming down on that foot. So, to me, could he be gone for a while? At least 2 months? Sure he could. It could be. God help us all, you know, because I don't want to miss Kevin Durant for the whole season. I'm sure they don't want to miss him for the whole season, but let's just say, what if? Well, then we would find out exactly how great Russell Westbrook really is. But if Kevin comes back, let's say at All-Star break, then we're back to square one, because we'd have to find out, can Kevin figure out how to play with the new Russell Westbrook, who is the man? He is the alpha male on the team. He already was, to me. But now we'll see if they could blend back together and find a place for the reigning MVP. That makes the Oklahoma City Thunder great soap opera from this point forward.
I think it makes them great soap opera, and I think it makes them the second most compelling story in all of the NBA.
I agree.
Next to LeBron and Cleveland and what's going to transpire within the Eastern Conference. But I definitely think it's the number one story in the West, because first you want to see how Russell Westbrook is going to do on his own, which I think he's going to just show everybody how big time he is.
Yep.
And then after that, you're going to have to see how Kevin Durant comes back and they're able to gel in terms of Russell welcoming him back, willing to scale back his game, because now he's proven how bona fide he is, and he doesn't seem to have that proverbial chip on his shoulders. I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be very, very interesting. But I will tell you right now, I consider Russell Westbrook one of the top 5 talents in this game.
Yeah.
He is that big time. And the opportunity for him to shine in the absence of Kevin Durant is something. I'm not saying in any way that he wishes Kevin Durant was hurt. Of course not. But I am saying that he's looking at this opportunity and it's like, okay, I guess it's on me. You know, let's go. With a big fat smile on his face, hoping that Kevin Durant returns, gets healthy, because he loves the brother. He doesn't wish anything bad on him. But at the same time, Russell Westbrook, I think, is anxious to show the world what he can do in terms of carrying a franchise on his shoulders. And by the way, keep in mind, couple of years, Russell Westbrook can leave. Los Angeles Lakers are looking at this former UCLA product to come back, to come to L.A. Do not rule out that possibility, and do not lose out the impact that his exploits could have on his future beyond Oklahoma City. You know, to keep all of that's relevant.
And allow me to add one final quick point. The third best story in the NBA is the San Antonio Spurs winning their what should be third straight championship this year.
Wait, the third.
Should be
That's
the third.
best
Well, Ray
story.
Allen stole one from him.
Okay. All right, you're right.
Nope.
Okay, I see.
It's not true. It's not true.
Yeah.
San Antonio Spurs are champions. Nobody's underestimating
Russell
them.
Westbrook.
Miami is a more compelling story.
You're the real MVP. Now it's time for Final Takes, small debates with big impact, quick takes on big topics. The Cardinals even the NLCS at a game apiece after Wong hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth. Who do you have now after last night's victory, Stephen A?
It's a big-time victory by the Cardinals, no doubt about that. And obviously, they're a team to be reckoned with, because they seem to find ways to win baseball games. But I still believe in the San Francisco Giants. I think that over the course of this series, outside of Bumgarner, St. Louis has better pitching, but I still believe the San Francisco Giants are going to find a way to win this series, and I think that they'll get it done in 6 or 7 games. I just believe that, Skip.
And I'm sticking with St. Louis in 7. Stephen A., what do-or-die guts that was shown by the St. Louis Cardinals at home. They virtually had to win this game to have a chance in this series, down 1 game. And they hit, for the first time in playoff history, they became the first team to hit home runs in the 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, and they needed all 3 of them. Way to go, Cardinals.
Everyone pointing fingers after the Bengals and Panthers tied 37-all yesterday, the highest scoring tie game in NFL history. Bengals kicker Mike Nugent missed a field goal attempt from 36 yards out as time expired and overtime. Cornerback Adam Jones.
We should have won the game. Sorry for my friends, but there's no way you get down and work all that hard and lose the game. We should have won the game.
What went wrong?
You tell me. We was in perfect position to win the game. 2 seconds on the clock. We got to win the game. Everybody in here get paid to do a job, and that's what everybody need to do.
Does that mean it's time for a new kicker?
I ain't say that, but I said everybody get paid to do a job. So perform and do your job. That's all I'm saying.
Perform and do your job. That's all he's saying. Stephen A., you agree with him?
Well, I agree with what he's saying. I don't agree with his willingness to call out his teammate because obviously that's just not the way to go. But at the same time, in defense of Pac-Man Jones, the fact is that there's a lot of people, a lot of football players, their frustrations are at a heightened level when the kicker messes up because other guys who mess up are out on the football field clanging bodies and putting themselves in jeopardy or what have you. Kickers are not viewed the same. So if you're a specialist and you have a job to do, when you don't do it, the level of vitriol is exponentially elevated because they're looking at you and saying, this is all you have to do. You ain't got to be out there doing the stuff that we doing and you still can't get that done. Damn, you stink. That's how they feel about that's how they feel about kickers. They always have.
So do I, which is why I'm totally with Pac-Man on this because I despise the fact that 2 very good teams battled it out, put their bodies on the line for 5 quarters, not 4 quarters, for 5 quarters. And it comes down to a kicker deciding the game, blowing the game for Cincinnati. You know how much I despise field goal kicking in general. I wish they'd do away with it.
As the Steelers trailed the Browns through the first half yesterday, let's talk about former Eagles and Browns executive Joe Banner. He went to Twitter to share his thoughts about Todd Haley, the offensive coordinator. This is what he had to say. Todd Haley gets 50 yards of offense on the last 2 plays of half to pad his yardage stats. Hopes no one will notice how awful he is. How much is Haley to blame for the Steelers' loss, Stephen A.?
Well, he's got something to do with it. I thought that was a bit excessive on Joe Banner's part, a former executive in this league. I was disappointed in that. But clearly he's got a point about Todd Haley. He's not wrong. And Todd Haley, whether it's GM Kevin Colbert, as far as I'm concerned, they were all putting Mike Tomlin's job in jeopardy because to lose to Tampa, to struggle against Jacksonville, and then to get trounced by Cleveland the way that they did, Tomlin could be in some trouble if they don't get this turned around. I agree
with you. This team is crumbling. The defense is looking older by the snap. Todd Haley deserves a heaping portion of the blame. And Mike Tomlin ultimately is going to have to pay for this.
Quickly, Stephen A., so I can announce some things. Monday Night Football, 49ers, Rams. Who you got?
49ers. Nothing to talk about. Next question.
I do think this will be an NFC West battle. I'll go 24-14, visiting team 49ers.
Meanwhile, do me a favor. Can you hold that jersey up? Because tomorrow's the day.
Tomorrow's the day.
Tomorrow's the day. It's Stephen A.'s birthday, and he's number 9. Just call him number 9. Tweet at him. Number 9. He's wearing the jersey and the Cowboys hat tomorrow for his birthday. 10 a.m. Eastern.